Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Hot, which is good, right? Hey, maybe a rant is coming. I dislike intensely political correctness and two-facedness, not being truthful or honest about what we do. Those kinds of things, they really irk me. I like straight shooting. I like being honest about things. I remember 18, 19 years ago, 17 years ago, somewhere around the turn of the century, I was really irritated by two things that were kind of going on at the same time. And one of those things was the conflict in the Balkans in which I got to play. You know, what's a soldier's duty? To obey, to follow orders, right? I know, I know. I think we were supporting the wrong side in the Balkans conflict. Were the Serbs being nice to the Muslims, the Albanians? No. But what goes around comes around, and that was just payback for, just read the history, right? And so here we are in Europe at the time supporting Muslims gaining a foothold in Europe, which I thought at that time was a ridiculous, dumb idea. Look what's happening now. Go walk around those beautiful, beautiful European cities while it's cold now, and what's the problem? No, it's not Albanians, but it is Muslims that they let in. Boy, I could get my conspiracy hat on there and saying that was all done on purpose, but I won't go there. But it irritated me because we were supporting the wrong side. And we were all about stopping genocide and doing this and doing that, and it's all for the good of humanity and da-da-da-da-da. And that was kind of the story that we told. At the same time that was going on, the former Rhodesia was transitioning into, or had recently, whatever, you could look it up, but around that same time, into Zimbabwe. And the Zimbabwean government was kicking white farmers off their farms. Yeah, let's get rid of the white people. Hey, these are the words they used. I'm not making this stuff up. This is what they used, and they're using it again today, which is why we're here. And you know, these white people in Africa, well, of course whites don't belong in Africa. Well, they'd been in Africa longer than my people have been in America. You know, they'd been there since the 1800s. Which is another thing. We'll just take a circle and come back to this. I get really irritated. I like American, Indians, Native Americans, the ones I've met, they're fine. But I'm really irritated too with those people who say, give the land back to the Indians. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Why don't you leave first then? Because if you're not a Native American Indian, why don't you leave and go back to wherever you think you need to go to? I mean, it's ridiculous. Peoples have conquered peoples throughout the world, throughout the ages. It happens. You know, my people, I'm an American, but my people came from Austria, southern Germany, down there. That's why I'm short, barrel-chested freedom fighter. Do you think they were there forever? No. They came from somewhere else and displaced somebody and moved them out, and then they settled in Austria, and, they're there now. And then people do that. That's the way of life. Kind of gets to me on slave reparations. Well, what about the Romans? Do the Romans owe me reparations for enslaving my people? Get over it, That's life, that's history, man. All right, so bringing it back down. No, we're not going to give the land back to the Indians. What were they doing with it anyway? I guess I am ranting. Zimbabwe started kicking all the white farmers off. And first they just passed laws saying you got to give the farms to black people because we own it. Cool, kick out the whites. And then some of them didn't leave. They said, nope, my family's been here for 200 years. We're staying. Then what happened? Genocide. they started killing white farmers, torturing them, raping them, kicking them off their land, setting fire to their houses. And so between like 2000, 2002, they got rid of almost all the white farmers in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, was a big growing area. There was a lot of stuff being grown there. There was a really important, like internationally important tea plantation there. And so, okay, so we kick all the white people out. Reminds me of that Eddie Murphy song, Kill the White People. They kicked all the white people out, and within like 4 or 5 years, 90% of those farms that they kicked the white people off and put blacks in charge of the farms, their words, not mine, 90% of those farms in op. Not working, not producing nothing. Weeds, stolen stuff, broken down machinery. And I remember saying then, when they started kicking the white farmers off the farms, I knew what was going to happen. I said, you know what? They're going to starve. And when they do, we should not send them 1 penny, not 1 cent. They made their bed, let them sleep in it. Well, guess what's happening today? The government of Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, has issued a plea to all the white farmers who fled. Many of them fled to Australia, evidently. I do know, and the same thing's happening in South Africa. It's just slow. It's a slower roll. My son was working in far western Kansas, and there were actually migrant workers that came out there to bring the wheat in and stuff. You know where the migrant workers were from? South Africa. South Africans. Yeah, it's kind of weird. He said it was neat though. He liked them. They were cool guys. But so the government of Zimbabwe has issued a plea for white farmers to please come back. Please come back and farm this land. And I tell you what, white farmers who we murdered and raped and killed and tortured and kicked off your land that your family had owned for 200 years, we'll let you have a 99-year lease on that land. I tell you what, if one white farmer goes back, he's an idiot. He's an idiot. And evidently there are still some there. Dudes and dudettes, read the writing on the wall, leave. And you South Africans, you better get while you can get out with your stuff. Leave now. Come to the Ozarks. It's wonderful. Ahana McGinnis. Something like that. I studied Afrikaans for about 6 weeks once. Buy a donkey. Skamerkelkies. These are the things I learned. South Africans, read the writing on the wall. Whites don't belong in Africa. You need to leave. And then watch what happens to South Africa. Just saying. No, the white farmers should not go back to Zimbabwe. For anything. They shouldn't go. Because it's just they're gonna get it going. The same thing's gonna happen again. Let them starve. Let them starve. That's what I think. And how are those Muslims working out in Europe now, Europeans? How you liking that, huh? Good thing NATO supported the Albanians in that conflict, huh? Yeah, that's what we need. Less white people in Africa and more Muslims in Europe. Hey, I know what this sounds like. It sounds racist, right? It's pure reality. It's pure reality. It's a mess over there. You know, Donald Trump said why, or supposedly he didn't say now. Whatever. I agree with the sentiment. Why are we taking these people from these shithole countries? I know, I said a bad word. Get over it. See, I'm just getting mad thinking about it. Why do we take these people? The average crappy people. Why do we take them? If they're rocket scientists or nurses or doctors or electrical engineers or something like that from whatever country of whatever race, cool, bring them in. Let them come. If they want to be Americans, don't come to this country and try and import all your traditions here to this country and make it just like that horrible place you left. If you want to come here and to America, be an American. I told you my people came from the old country, from Austria and Germany. My grandfather, my dad's dad, got off the boat. Off the boat, early 1900s. Spoke no English, none. They didn't teach it in high school then. Only German. Do you know that when I took high school German, my father did not speak any German? Because when my grandfather came here, he said, we're Americans and we're going to speak American. We're going to speak English. They didn't speak English they didn't speak German in the home. When my grandmother and he would argue, evidently they would argue in German. But with the kids, you learn English. You're an American. Something to be said for that. There's something to be said for maintaining a culture. And there is an American culture which is being purposefully destroyed by the powers that be. Throwing the blame at American cultural icons and saying they're the problem, that's the problem. Doing that, destroying that. So yeah, tell me how Zimbabwe's space program is. How are their electrical engineers doing over there? Just saying, it's going to get worse. But I know we have some people watching us in South Africa. I know we do. You need to leave. You need to leave. Come to the Ozarks. You come to the Ozarks, I'll meet with you. I'll try and help you get a house. All right. I'll see you out there.